We're an hour and a half into our cruise and we've reached the top of the Barrowford lock flight. To see what happened earlier in the day, click on the link in the description below.
The Barrowford locks are in Lancashire, and we're heading south on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal towards the junction with the Lee branch at Wigan.
We've travelled 46 miles from Leeds, climbing all the way. We've reached the end of the Summit Pound and now we start our descent. Travelling up the locks on this canal has been pretty challenging so far, and we're about to find out what it's like going down them. We get off to a great start. There's a lockkeeper on duty. She's actually an employee, not a volunteer. She introduces herself, we have a quick chat, and then she asks if we'd like her help through the locks. We gratefully accept. While the lockkeeper's getting ready, I start by opening the ground paddles on the top lock. My rather unusual method of turning the heavy lock handle is not necessarily one I'd recommend, but it's doing the job. By the time the lock is full, the lockkeeper's back, life jacket on, and she helps me open the gates to let Michael in with the boat.
There are 7 locks in the Barrowford flight, and they are going to take us down about 70 feet in total. I hope that doesn't mean we'll be leaving these wonderful views behind though. This top lock is fairly leaky, and as well as avoiding the sill, when you're going down you don't know how leaky the gates are going to be until you start descending. The danger with very leaky gates is that the water could fall under your stern and straight down into your engine bay, so I keep a close eye on the sill as we descend.
We're about half a mile from the village of Barrowford here. The canal continues past it at the bottom of the flight. Barrowford is another area that thrived with the textile industry, first with wool, and later cotton when raw materials could be imported from America and brought along the canal from Liverpool.
Next to the lock flight is the Barrowford Reservoir. It's one of the many reservoirs that are used to feed the canal.
Between the second and third lock we spot a CRT recycling point. These are sadly pretty rare, and so before we drop the water in the lock, we take the opportunity to get rid of all our recycling that we've been collecting for a while.
The lockkeeper is helping us all the way down the flight, and she's brought a can of grease with her to lubricate the paddles as we go.
Lock 49 is directly under the Colne Road, and while we're descending, the lockkeeper takes the opportunity to clear the bywash that runs around the lock, as it's become clogged with weeds and branches.
That bywash doesn't look clogged up anymore. In fact, there's so much water coming down that the boat is going to get pushed right over when I leave the lock.
Below the lock, the canal turns sharply to the right, and then we pass under the M65 motorway.
Two more locks to go, and the lockkeeper is still helping us. This end of the canal already seems much quieter than the east end, where the bulk of the hire boats seem to be based.
George is keeping a supervisory gaze over Michael as he stops the boat in the middle of the pound to fish yet another tennis ball out of the canal.
Mission accomplished. Now just one more lock to go.
A quick thanks and farewell to the wonderful lockkeeper, then it's onwards south towards Burnley and the seventh wonder of the Waterways.
We've been on the move for 3 hours today, and this is the first boat we've seen coming the other way. Hopefully all the Barrowford locks will still be set in their favour, but with all those leaky gates, who knows?
It's starting to look a little more urban as we pass Barrowford, and by the looks of things it's going to stay fairly built up all the way to Burnley. Although I'm sure the canal-side vegetation will shield us from a lot of it.
George is on duty looking out for more stray tennis balls, or stray ducks for that matter.
From Barrowford we travel through Nelson, another mill town that developed during the Industrial Revolution.
We decide to stop on these visitor moorings for an hour or so, while Joe pops into Nelson to pick up some groceries and a bit of lunch. It's just a quick stop though, and once we are stocked up we continue on our way south.
Anytime Michael meets a dog, he has to go and say hello, so it's pretty hard on him when he's stuck on the back of the boat and he can't give these back garden dogs a scritch and sniff. I think these two feel the same way.
There are so many old mill buildings along the canal here. This one has been repurposed as the Pendle Mill Shopping Centre, but I think they are missing a trick by not putting moorings outside though.
The old Brierfield mill is in the process of being converted into luxury apartments, and it's now known as Northlight Estate. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and so it's kept its industrial character on the outside.
Lob Lane Mill dates back to 1832 and was one of the first mills in the area. It was in a pretty sad state when this picture was taken, but it's also been converted into apartments and has regained some of its former glory.
Well, that's one way to keep your bike out of the way on your narrowboat.
Burnley is to the east of us here, and between us and there is a railway line, so there's a bit of a green buffer between us and the town.
This is the Reedley Marina, home to 100 or so boats. They apparently have visitor moorings too, and they seem very welcoming. It looks like there's some more canal side property development going on along here.
Under that bridge is a short arm that once serviced the Bank Hall colliery. There used to be a large dock there known as Burley's Dock, after John Burley, who built boats on the site. In the area was also a canal depot, 2 wharves, and a ginny track, which was a tramway that was used to bring clay from Hessenford. When the pit closed in the 1970s, the whole area was redeveloped into a recreation area and park. The dry dock was restored and is now part of the Bank Hall maintenance yard. I think the dry dock is actually behind that shutter.
Just under this bridge is the start of the famous Burnley Embankment. The embankment carries the canal across the Calder and Burn river valleys. The enormous earthwork is 3/4 of a mile long and carries the canal 60 feet above the valley floor. It's known as one of the 7 wonders of the Waterways.
The embankment was settled on as an alternative to building locks at either side of the valley, and that avoided a long detour along the contour. It took 5 years to build and was opened to traffic in 1801. Some of the earth used to build it was taken from the Gano Tunnel, which we will be passing through on the other side of the embankment. Halfway along the embankment, Yorkshire Street passes underneath the canal. I think it may be the only place where cars and pedestrians can cross from one side of the embankment to the other. There's an old crane at the start of the aqueduct. Presumably it was used to lift cargo between the boats and the road below.
The canal was routed this way to service the Burnley coalfields and the cotton industry, which experienced explosive growth in the late 1700s. Not long after the embankment was completed, there were 12 mills located along its length. It's quite a unique experience travelling along here, with the town stretching out below on both sides.
At this end of the embankment there was originally a short dock branch to allow for the unloading and loading of coal, but that has since been filled in. The wharf would have been quite a sight in its day, with busy foundries and forges, timber yards, warehouses, inns, stables, and workshops clustered nearby.
Under the bridge we'll take a sharp turn west.
We're still in Burnley and the canal is now covered in duckweed. We spot 4 telltale wheels above the water, indicating that there's a rusting shopping trolley just below the surface.
I'm completely oblivious, but behind me there's the old Leeds and Liverpool Canal Company toll house. I was too busy looking at this pub, which we found out has been shut for 3 years and is on the market. I think it was converted from some old stable buildings. According to Rightmove, it's under offer, so fingers crossed it will be open again soon. More mills that have been developed into housing. I often wonder who decides which buildings are saved while others are left to crumble. Goodness, there's a lot of duckweed here. The thing with duckweed though is it's mainly just on the surface, so while it doesn't look very nice, it really doesn't cause us any problems.
Well, this seems a bit on the stupid side. These kids are climbing up to the train line above. There may only be one track here, but there are regular trains servicing the Burnley Barrack station. It's 3:30 in the afternoon and we've been on the move since 8 AM, so we're ready to stop. Now we just need to find somewhere nice to moor. First we need to get through the cutting in the half-mile-long Gano tunnel. There's no towpath in the tunnel, so boats originally needed to be legged through, but by the early 1900s a tug service was available.
Once more under the M65.
We're not sure what's going on ahead, so we slow right down till we are waved past. The green wide beam is currently disabled with a badly fouled prop, and the other boat has stopped to help.
We pass Rose Grove visitor moorings, but they look too inviting, so we reverse up and call it a day.
Afternoon.
We have had a long day's cruising, and we are in, I want to say Rose Gold, but it's Rose Grove.
Yeah, we're at the Rose Grove Visitor Moorings and Service Point.
We nearly didn't stop it. We carried on past 2 boats and then finally made our mind up.
Yeah. So we've been going quite a ways today. We went through the series of locks and then the tunnel.
Well, no, the tunnel was first, remember?
Oh yeah, right. It's been a long day. We started out, went for an hour, went through the tunnel, and then up to a series of locks where we had a really helpful, incredibly helpful woman who helped us down the lock. She was working.
I think no coincidence that it was a woman.
No coincidence whatsoever.
She was nice.
Such a step up from some of our recent experiences. Anyway, yeah.
So she
was just super helpful.
Yeah, and she helped us through 7 locks, and she was like, "Do you want help or, not?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'd love help, thank you."
Yeah. And the overflows were quite heavily going.
There's a lot of water.
Yeah, the water was really coming down, so that each time we exited one lock, we'd come into the next one, and the door would be closed, but the water would be up and overflowing over the side. So, the overflows were sort of struggling to handle all the water coming down, which meant that there were outflows at the bottom of each lock, which shoved me sideways like that.
Yeah, there was a bit hairy in some of them. So yeah, we were at the peak of the canal, and obviously now we're coming down the other side, and we were a bit kind of concerned about going down because there'd been so much leakage going up into our bow. We thought there might be a lot of leakage coming down into our stern, but they weren't too bad, these locks, were they?
No, and these are a bit longer, so I can pull quite a bit forward and sit to one side, and I really don't have to worry too much about. I mean, if there was like a 15 to 20 foot geyser like there was at that one staircase lock, it'd be a problem, but no, for the most part it's been fine. Going down is actually easier and less stressful than going up.
In one of the locks you had,
especially in wide locks.
Yeah, in one of the locks you were really far forward when she was trying to open the gate, and I was like, "Oh, he's in the way," and she was like, "Oh, sorry." And it's not your fault. No. And then she was like, "I thought the gate just needed oiling."
Yeah. No, that was the last lock.
Yeah.
What happened was you distracted me by asking how close were we to the little.
Oh yeah, so you'd been looking at.
And I was looking at that.
I got my priorities right, obviously.
The boat slid forward into the sort of groove behind that door. And when she went to open the door, I got pressed up against the wall. So I'm like, now I'm not going anywhere. But
she said she'd only been doing the job like a month and a half, and.
Well, she was very positive. Really seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know you guys were chattering and enjoying the conversations. That was
such a breath of fresh air having a female lock keeper as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just been lock freed for the rest of the way.
Oh yeah. Well, from the bottom of those locks, there's like 21 miles. Although past here, we came through another small tunnel after doing the massive Burnley Embankment, which is actually huge. It's like you're 65 feet above.
You're going
ground level.
above rooftops, and it's really weird to look out. But I think that's actually
above the rooftop of a Tesco's.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, there's a massive Tesco's extra, and I'm above it.
And you're like, strange. Please don't breach. Yeah. we had visions of it.
Which is what happens if a breach happens right now. Probably won't be bad for us, but it'd be strange to watch a Tesco's just walked away.
And it's actually one of the 7 wonders of the so-called 7 wonders of the Waterways.
Yeah.
So I think we've done them all now. I can't remember.
I know we've done quite a few.
I think Bingley's one, actually.
Yeah.
And Anderton's one.
Yeah, I should know this list.
Cane Hill's one.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, it would be the Ponkasista Aqueduct would definitely be one.
Yeah.
And
I can't remember.
Probably at least a couple of these staircases.
Or maybe no, the Standage Tunnel.
We'll have to look up the 7 and report
there's
back.
Bingley's the staircase. I think I've mentioned them all anyway. The embankment was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And as we came through, Michael informed me that this was one of the biggest textile manufacturers.
Yeah, this area used to have just an enormous number of textile mills and textile companies. Yeah, it was like one of the centers of trade for, well, probably generations. And now it's got a football club, so that's cool.
Probably had one for a while.
Probably had one for a while. It's just, I just happen to know that there is one because I saw some graffiti about it. Actually saw quite a bit of graffiti today, most of which was informative, but not necessarily well thought out. So,
very diplomatic of you.
Yeah, well, there's a few people that seem to have garnered some bad attention. Anyway, it's like thank you for your opinion. I'll carry on now. Yeah, so. And
yeah, through Burnley, or after the embankment, definitely noticeably a little bit more rubbish in the canal than we've been used to on the Leeds and Liverpool.
Yeah, but also
a few shopping trolleys and stuff.
This is also the longest kind of industrial slash
built up area.
Built up landscape that we've seen.
We've left the rolling hills.
I wouldn't say that like garbage in the canals or anything is at all bad compared to like most other more built up areas.
It's just noticeable
in contrast to where we've been. Yeah, just before we got to the last bridge, there's quite a few bridges in a row. We saw some kids climbing up a railway bridge, which did not look like a smart idea. Came around the corner and there were two boats just stopped in the middle of the canal. A wide beam had that was coming towards us had apparently wrapped something around a prop, flagged a boat down that was coming in the same direction as us, and so he had stopped to tow them backwards so that they could try and actually get in position. I think it was just to get them closer to shore so that they could get in there. But it was strange because I really was curious as we went past, because the guy on the back of the boat was taking this 2x4 and just mashing it into...
I'm not sure how you clear the prop with it.
Yeah, he was just like vertically smashing it into the rubber.
We could have misheard of what was actually happening.
Maybe, yeah.
Because that didn't make sense.
Because I'm like, if there's something wrapped around your prop and you have to kill it with a 2x4, it's a hell of an eel.
Anyway, I don't think this is the nicest mooring we've ever stayed at, but it's nice enough and it's convenient. And we'd been going for about 8 hours today. Well, we stopped for lunch, but...
Yeah. I wanted to get across the Burnley Embankment because there's been some work being done on it, and there was supposed to be some divers down, and so it was supposed to stop until 3 o'clock, and we were like timing it to sort of arrive. I think we were 15 minutes earlier, and then there's nothing there. So they must have been like Friday, it's noon, right? We're off. And
well, they could have just finished what they were doing.
Yeah, they must have finished the work. So we were able to continue through there. And then on the other side, it was just the first moorings we saw. Actually looked kind of neat, but there's...
Oh yeah, under that, where that like really nice pub that's probably shut, and then...
Yeah, well, the pub definitely looks shut because all the windows, like possibly permanently shut because all the windows are like covered in metal.
But it's such a nice building.
Yeah.
And then there's that covered wharf.
Covered wharf with the crane, but it was so empty.
Yeah.
I was just like, maybe...
Whereas I think there's a CRT office here, so there's stuff going around, and there's a couple of boats.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a locked gate over there, so...
But nowhere to walk George.
No, nowhere to walk George.
That's a bit of a bugger.
I'll figure that one out. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to Minimalist Maximal Velocity for, I don't know how far back time lapses, but there's time lapses. And click that bell, notifications if you want. Bing.
They were 60 feet long and 14 feet wide, and were designed to maximize their carrying capability.
Then it's onwards south towards Burley and the seventh wonder of the Waterways.
Is it Burley or Burnley?
Burnley. Oh, I did that really well apart from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the Rose Garden visitor moorings.
Rose Garden?
Is that what you said? Rose Grove. Sorry. The weather held. We had this... George is wanting some attention. Luckily the weather held. We had these... George!
I'm going to get him.
I'm going to click this button that says 10% battery remaining. Close. Still here. Still talking. Show's gotten really small. I saw an industrious rat today. Quite cute, actually. There you are. Yeah, who's a monkey? Who's an unhelpful noise-making monkey? What were we talking about?
Thanks for watching.
Right. There's something I was rambling on about.